G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where I get to hang out with some really cool sailors, but of course I have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. Unfortunately, it's still just one, so let's bring him in.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
I wasn't sure I was going to make it this morning, Jordan, to tell you the honest truth.
I wasn't sure you would either.
Hamilton Island, Saturday, 7 a.m. No, not because of frivolous behaviour, of course.
Oh, okay.
But the cockies. I left my kid out last night, ready to go. All my stuff got attacked by the cockies.
Oh, bloody mongrel things.
In Hamilton Island. So, yeah. No, they're bloody everywhere.
Yeah.
No, she's coming to a close up here, mate.
Yeah.
Last day today.
Right.
And everyone goes back to their normal life.
Normal life, like it's crazy. Everyone's up there. It's quite bizarre trying to talk to anyone. You're just anyone in the industry is up there. So
absolutely, it's a couple of years off, so it's created quite a hype, obviously, for everyone to be here. Mm-hmm. And that I think right at this point, everyone's asking themselves, was it worth the hype?
Well, not everyone.
And that answer, of course, is yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Obviously, our illustrious partner's still absent. He keeps promising and then disappearing. I think he's working like a little mad beaver behind the scenes at the moment. So he said, I'll be ready this week. So I think he's got a fair bit on his plate, but he's coming back. He's coming back.
Fair to say.
Okay, now, well, I guess we should bring in our guest because not everybody is in Hammo this week. Boss.
What?
No.
What are you talking about, Willis?
I know. There's one thing that's coming up is in this little place called Northern Australia, as we refer to it, Canada.
Canada.
The Canadians. World Champs are coming up for the 49er, 49er FX and NACRA 17 classes. And we thought, oh, you know what? Let's get into this because it starts pretty much this week. So we thought, who could we talk to? And I've got a guy that listens to me piss in his ear occasionally at the yacht club all the time. Who's got ability, and I crap on about, I've seen this and I see that, and he's such a nice bloke. So he puts up with my crap. Been part of the Australian sailing team in various forms since about 2012. So 49er sailor competing at the Worlds, one of the our top hopes for the Aussies. Welcome to the show, Joel Turner.
Thanks, Geordie. Thanks, Nick. Good to be here and spin a yarn with you guys for a little bit. And pretty jealous that I'm not in Hamilton Island right now because I've been there a few times. And yeah, I know Nick will be feeling absolutely on top of the world at 7 o'clock in the morning on the last day.
We'll put it this way, Joel. When things go right in a regatta, you don't want to change anything. Things haven't necessarily gone right, so we thought we'd give it a little push last night and see what happens today.
And I believe the forecast is 25 knots for good measure too.
Yeah, another 20-plus knot day, which gets a little relentless after time. But anyway, enough about that, Joel. Give us your, for the listener, where you at?
Yeah, so we're here in Halifax, quite a small city up in Canada on the east coast in Nova Scotia, getting ready for the 49er World Championships, which start on Wednesday this week. We've been here for a bit over a week now, training and doing a little pre-regatta competition, which has gone really well for the Aussies so far. The temperature's bloody nice, the sailing's bloody nice, the people here are incredibly nice and welcoming, which makes it a really enjoyable place to be and sail. So yeah, so far so good, and we've just got a few more days of training before we get into the competition on Wednesday.
Love it. Are you having trouble keeping your weight down, mate, with all the Canadian pancakes and maple syrup and donuts for brekkie and all that sort of crap?
No, that's where I've absolutely nailed the timing. I've got to gain weight at the moment,
Oh.
so I'm just soaking it up.
I love it, mate. You're a Queensland boy. Congratulations, been nominated for a Sailor of the Year. So congratulations on that with you and Tom. What the hell is a Micron 3.3?
That was the very first boat that I ever sailed. It was basically my old man I think he found it on the side of the road and was sitting on a trailer, and it was for sale for one, had like a cardboard sign stuck on it saying $800 or something like that. And he thought, you know what, let me just grab this and I'll show my kids how to go sailing on that. And lo and behold, it ended up costing him a hell of a lot more than $800. I'll tell you that much.
If you had to describe it, what's it most like?
Oh, it's kind of a small laser. It's probably similar sail area to a laser 4.7.
Right.
But the hull is just slightly wider, a little bit fatter, a little bit slower. So,
okay.
Yeah,
Is this a Queensland thing? You blokes?
Never heard of it before.
I've never seen another one since that one that we had when I was a kid. So,
right,
it's definitely not a big class.
Right. So for those who don't know you, mate, like you're a Gold Coast boy, so same club as Matty Belcher, I guess. So you know that Olympic program strong. Did you guys grow up together? Do you hate each other's guts? Did you inspire him to all his wins? What's the story with the Gold Coast? What's coming out of that little stretch of water?
No, Matty was a little bit ahead of my time. All I know is that when I started sailing the Sabo and started racing at Southport Yacht Club, he was already well on his way to his first gold medal in London in 2012. So yeah, I'm more or less about a decade behind him, but he's got his name written on the wall down at that yacht club plenty of times, and I definitely heard plenty of stories over the years of, I guess, the older folk that are sailing down the yacht club on a Wednesday night and a Sunday who had seen this kid, Matt Belcher, come through the ranks as a junior. And I guess the really cool thing for me is that after a few years of competing in the 49er, I kind of got to know Matt quite well and obviously worked together a little bit, both being in this Australian sailing team for a number of years. And then Matt also managed to set up a nice little Australian sailing team base on the Gold Coast as well, which was very handy for me because that meant that I didn't have to travel so much when we go training, and I could just do it at home a little bit more. So yeah, he's obviously provided a super nice pathway for me to follow, and Matt's probably been a big inspiration to me and a lot of the Gold Coast sailors to kind of try and follow.
Yeah, and you're setting your own path now. I'm interested because you had you've done the full program. You know, went to the Youth Worlds through that whole sort of sailing program. With we talked about last week how that Youth Worlds is off the agenda now for Australian sailing. Do you have any views on that? Let's get controversial straight up.
Yeah, I just heard that the other day as well, and I think it's a tricky one because on one hand, the Youth Worlds was a very kind of motivating space for kids who are sailing youth classes. It's something really big to strive for, and I got to go through that. Luckily enough, I went and competed in the Youth Worlds in 2012 in Ireland. And the big positive of that for me was that it kind of introduced me to international travel with sailing. And so then that kind of led me onto a very long path of continuing to do that for currently the next 10 years, and still got a few years left in me now. Yeah. So like I said, that $800 boat turned into a lot more. But at the same time as well, I think there's definitely a time and a place to start competing overseas. And I do think sometimes some people get introduced to competing overseas a little early rather than kind of cracking down on fundamentals and basics of sailing the boat and racing the boat here in Australia. a lot of people tend to spend a lot of time and a lot of money to get overseas when you can achieve a lot back at home with the right mindset and support structures and things like that. So I know that you go each way.
Yeah, well, obviously, with the wording, just in case, they're going to try and focus more on building big squads and then supporting a range of different classes and people going to Worlds in those. So I guess they're trying to give more opportunity across more sailors. So, build a bigger base is the way I'm interpreting it. From your perspective, your pathway was Sabo, 29er, that sort of pathway into the 49er. If it hadn't been Youth Worlds and Australian Sailing Team, would you have gone a different path? Are there a different boats you would have sailed?
Yeah, I think there's probably a high potential that I might not have even ended up in the 49er, because when I started to sail the 29er as a youth sailor, that was just the pathway that they showed us. They showed us that that's how it works. You start in a youth class, you develop your skills in Australia, you qualify for the Youth Worlds. And then once you've gone to Youth Worlds, it's quite easy to step into an Olympic class because you've already got connections and a little bit of experience of traveling overseas and that. Whereas if that pathway wasn't really introduced to me, I could have potentially ended up in match racing or offshore racing, because I was doing those things at the same time as sailing the 29er. Did a bunch of match racing training and a little bit of offshore sailing as a teenager, and I could have got enticed down to one of those pathways just as easily. So, but it comes back a lot to, I guess, what the child is exposed to from a young age.
So the just that aspirational bit though, was that kind of what you were taught, like at the local yacht club? And you'd seen Matt go through it, for example, and where he was at with his gold medals and what have you. So that was always kind of where you wanted to get to? Were you competing with other people in club against that, or?
Yeah, I mean, my personal story is very very Olympic based. I think back when I was 5 years old and saw the Olympics in Sydney, and then again in 04 and 08, and I kind of always just dreamt of going to the Olympics and being a professional athlete. I didn't know what sport I was going to do that in at the time, but then when I started racing at age 12 and then racing nationally at age 14, 15, and I saw that sailing was an Olympic pathway, then that was basically when I decided that I was going to commit that way.
As opposed to long jump or high jump or something?
Yeah. I was never really too much of an athlete in that regard at school. I was too lanky. I didn't have any of the coordination, which is why now I'm well suited to a trapezing boat.
What about from that perspective? What other sports did you like, mate? Like being lanky, you could have played a few things.
Oh, I played soccer for many years when I was a kid, and then I probably played for 8 or 9 years, I think, of just club soccer. Loved it. Thought I was really good. I really wasn't. And then the year I started sailing, soccer training was on a Tuesday and a Thursday night, and sailing training was on a Thursday night. So I'd go from school to from school to sailing training, and then I'd have to have my soccer stuff in the car so I could go straight from sailing training to soccer. And then mum and dad said, nah, not doing that. Pick one.
Yeah.
Oh, it could have been worse.
Maybe they should.
It could have been swimming, and you're up at 4 a.m. every morning.
Yeah. I keep telling them that while I was younger, they had to help me pay for regattas.
It's the joy of being a parent, isn't it? Wondering which way your kids are going to go. I don't know. I guess, Bicey, you're about to go through all this with your kids. I guess you've got to fund all that. That's why you're probably the Bice Commodore, so you can get a few special treatment.
Get a bit of special treatment, yeah. I just need a few people on the board to, run the calisthenics concerts and all those sorts of things. So whilst the children, for example, good example here. My daughter, she does calisthenics.
Yep.
Of which I see all the calisthenics mums in there, all their little tracksuits and stuff. And I want to be a Cali dad.
Oh.
But Joel, were your mum and dad cheering from the sidelines, mate, as far as pushing you through, taking you to all these regattas?
100%. Yeah, I've been lucky enough that my family and I are really close, and my parents were going to support me no matter what sport I did. I got introduced to sailing because Dad did quite a lot of that throughout his whole life, and still does. They were too supportive that no matter what sport it was, they'd be by my side and try to, I guess, convince me to commit quite hard to whatever I was going to do. So they never want me to half-ass anything. So here we are, 15 years later.
Yeah, it's cool. Have you got brothers and sisters, mate? I don't actually know that part of your family. Have you?
Yeah, I've got an older sister who's now married with a kid.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because you're a new uncle. Congratulations. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Xander, isn't it? Is it your nephew?
Yeah. Good memory, Geordie.
With the Jordapedia, we'll call him.
Did she get the sailing bug as well, or was it just you?
She did for a little bit, and then she got what I think a lot of girls tend to get in sailing is when they become an older teenager and they find out what drinking and boys are, and then they kind of disappear from the sailing scene a little bit. I think it's quite common from what I've seen in the past.
This is a good topic of discussion, mate. Like, I think a lot of people wonder about that one.
Yeah, it's not a. I'm not sure why, but from my experience, it just happens a little bit more with girls. I think I don't know, they want to make their family or follow their career, grow up. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but they do, I think.
Yeah.
I think in general, though, that's probably an issue the sport has, whether it's male or female, just to, whilst you are on that kind of youth world's path or the Olympic path, there are probably a couple of your mates who also dropped out of yachting at that point in time, like late teens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I couldn't tell you exactly the reasons why, because I obviously saw it a slightly different way and wanted to continue along the path. But yeah, it's definitely an age where I guess it's you can do it or you can't do it, and that's probably one large part is financing. Obviously, sailing is not a cheap sport, and one of the real sad things to see in Australia is when, well, probably all over the world, is when you see someone with a lot of talent, a lot of work ethic, and love the sport, and they've got to quit because they simply can't afford to keep continuing. That's probably one of the hardest things to watch when you're a teenager, is all the people dropping around you.
Don't worry, that sits in my mind quite a lot. That's something we've discussed a bit here on Bar Karate, and with our normal ability to progress things, it hasn't gone far, but it's something we're going to fix. We've decided, but that ability to go sailing without having to spend a huge amount of money and have a ton of fun doing it and feel competitive as well. I think that's the other element. You can't just be out there on a shitter boat. You want to be able to feel competitive, sort of thing. So need to find that pathway. We'll come back to that sort of stuff, but just from your perspective, the 49er has been a long time boat for you. Obviously, you won the Junior Worlds in 2014. Did a lot of time with Dave Gilmore, obviously fairly well-known name in our sport. We've chatted to, and then now you're with Tommy Needham, just to clarify for those who don't know who we're talking about. The 49er, mate, is it fun?
What a boat! It is how I would summarize it. I mean, when I was sailing the 29er and realized what the 49er was, that it was an Olympic class and what it was as a boat and how it worked, I just thought it was the coolest thing to let you know have the wings on the side compared to the 29er and the way bigger sails and double trapeze. And I think when the 49er was first released in, I think, 1995, it was just way ahead of its time.
Yep.
I mean, the Bethwaite family obviously has a massive history in sailing, and yeah, when it was released, it really was high performance compared to everything else around it. And it's kind of continued to be developed over the last 2 decades to the point where they're relatively bulletproof boats. They sail really well in anything from 3 knots to 25, 26. The fleet internationally is ultra competitive because the other positive to it is it's a relatively affordable boat compared to a lot of Olympic classes. Well, more so just the Nacro is the outlier there, but for what you get, it's relatively affordable. Just an awesome boat to race. 2 people, high speed. Yeah, it doesn't get too much better.
What about this? We were talking to Dylan Fletcher. You may have heard of him. We were talking to him not too long ago, and he was talking about all the changes that's come through this year. Obviously, the boat's evolved a little bit, the shape of the sails in the past. And what's the changes that have come through for the 49er recently?
So we've got now a new mast, which is now built by CST Composites in Sydney.
Yep.
The mast was originally built by Southern Spars in New Zealand. And then we've also gone from clear see-through mylar sails to 3DI. So just like a large majority of the international fleet and all types of boats moving towards 3DI, that's where our class has gone now as well.
And has that changed the way you sail the boat? Obviously, a new mast is a big deal. Even just materials on sails, I know with a lot of rig development I've done in the past years, just different sailcloth could change the way you set up a whole boat. And so I'm interested, like it must have thrown all your numbers out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's not a matter of completely restarting because all the basics and the fundamentals are the same, but it's a matter of retuning and finding a new level of accuracy and trying to figure out what you're looking for with new sail shapes. So the sails we have now are quite a lot deeper and more powerful than the originals.
Hence you're putting on weight.
Why I'm trying to gain weight. Which has been very enjoyable because in the past losing weight, I know which one I'd rather be doing.
Just be careful where that goes, mate. You got to remember when to stop.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, a different sail is a different sail. At the end of the day, you're going to pull it up and you're going to adjust the turnbuckles and pull the ropes to different tensions to make the boat go as fast as it can. It's not really all that different in terms of how you approach it. It's just a different shape.
Was that like a fleet-wide thing? At a certain time, everyone had to be with the new kit, or it's going to be coming over time?
It's somewhat of an overtime thing, just because North isn't capable of producing 200 sets of sails in the click of the fingers.
Yep.
So this year is kind of the transition year where our European Championships and our World Championships, we've been allowed to use the old mainsail or the new mainsail, but everyone has to use the new jibs because they managed to get a whole bunch of jibs produced. Okay. Yeah. So it's somewhat of a transition period where at the Worlds next week, we're going to have some boats with black mainsails and some boats with see-through mylar. So,
right.
But each their own. Like at the last few events, we've had boats with black mainsails and boats with mylar mainsails coming in on the podium at the end of the week. So
yeah, right.
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Jordan was at the 5-0 Worlds only a couple of weeks ago, and they had 2 days racing.
3.
And the weather is normally is never like that. How's it looking for you guys next week?
So far, so good. I mean, the forecast that we've got looking at next week at the moment is very similar to the training that we've been doing the last few days, which is always a win. It just makes you feel comfortable that the training we've been doing is relevant. But, I think the day before the event is quite a big blow, and we haven't seen too much of that since we've been here. So, but we'll see what happens. The weather can do anything, as we know.
So just before we dive into the 49er, the actual racing, I wouldn't mind getting into the build-up through Europe a little bit, because you've done the full 7-week program. But the question before that, though, is 49er class seems to produce superstars. You've banged into it a bit over your career. Obviously, I'm talking about Outridge and Goobs in Australia, and then, before that, Nico, and Ewan, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, of course, Blair and Pete. How long till you become the superstar, mate?
How long's a piece of string, Geordie? Who knows?
Clear the mantelpiece.
I'm not gonna put a time on that, but I think the kind of superstar status, as we call it, for a number of the guys in this fleet has just come naturally, simply because the type of boat that the 49er is. I mean, you need a whole bunch of different skills to sail it well, to race it well. You've got to be relatively big. Like, you can't be Matt Belcher size and sail a 49er all that well. So, and then that often translates into big boat stuff as well. So it kind of favors guys with larger frames. And yeah, I think the guys that have gone into that superstar status are people that would have done that no matter what boat they sailed, to be honest. Someone like Nathan Goobs, like, they did their youth sailing in a 420 as well as a 29er. I think if they wanted to sail a 470 or a laser, they would have gone just as well in that career. And it's just that the fact that the 49er is a very attractive boat for people to sail. So right. I think that's largely part of it.
All right. Well, so you're heading to the Worlds. You've just done the build-up through Europe. How did all that play out for you?
It was really positive. We had the start of the year was a bit rusty, kind of for the whole Aussie squad, because we hadn't raced against the European fleets in which case we were just training against each other, beating each other up in Sydney and Queensland. And so when we came overseas earlier this year, we all kind of got hit a little bit hard early. But big positive was that we all kind of got to move forwards quite quickly, and results have progressed and performances progressed really well. And I mean, that's all we're trying to do at the end of the day, is be better than we were the day before. So it's positive to see that happening.
Because I think the Aussies were well placed going into the Euros, like into that medal race. I think you were 6th and the other boys were 3rd, I think, going into that medal race. And it looks like you just threw everything on the line to try and jump up in that medal race, because you ended up coming 9th in the end. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, we just had a bad race. I think Jim and Sean were 5th or 6th, and they kind of stayed there, and we were 7th and dropped to 9th. I mean, for Tom and myself, I guess, like, to be honest, we're relatively new to medal racing. We've only been in 2 medal races together now, and that was in Kiel and in Aarhus this year. So a little bit of experience will go a long way in that department. And now that we've got 2 of those races under our belt, we'll be much more confident with the next one that we've got to do. And hope the plan is to be consistently in the medal race from here on in. So
yeah,
and if we can do that, then that medal race experience becomes a lot easier.
For the medal racing in the fleet stuff prior, 40, 50 boats, and then jump straight in the medal race with 10 boats. Is that right?
Yeah. So at the Europeans, we had 95 boats total, broken into 3 fleets, so 30 odd. in each fleet, and then 10 in the medal race.
Yeah. So it's almost a different ball game there in itself, a different mindset. Like you say, the experience is needed in that setting.
Yeah, totally. It's a completely different kettle of fish. Like I was talking earlier with the rig and sails, it's the same fundamentals. You're still using the wind to get around the race course as quick as you can against the clock, but there's a whole lot less boats, which means that your positioning options are different to what they are in a big fleet race, and the way you attack is just slightly different, and different strengths and weaknesses will show.
One of the things that I think you've been clever, because obviously it's the Australian getting the selection for France will be tough. You've got to battle. So one thing you've done and I want to check if you're going to follow up on this, where you've been really smart. I saw you at the VX1 Nationals in Brisbane and had a good old battle there. Now, as we get closer to France, the next VX1 Nationals are in South Australia. You'll be able to take on Nick Bice in that. So you've actually, is that part of the plan, the build up to take on the legend and really get yourself worked over by someone with a ton of experience? Is that what's in the mind there?
Yeah, well, it's important to race the best before you go and beat the best.
By the way, Joel, you're welcome. Hey, through all the youth worlds and everything like that, do you have any traditional rivals you have you just keep running into every now and then on the racetrack?
Kiwis. It never ends.
Kiwis.
The minute you see a mullet, you just know.
We've got a great relationship with the Kiwis. You could call it a love-hate relationship, I guess. I mean, because through your junior sailing, that's kind of the first country that you'll interact with in a training space and somewhat working together with them, so that you're racing against good guys, and so you build those relationships early. But at the same time, it's kind of like your Australian counterparts, where you're desperate to beat them when you're on the water, but you get along really well off the water as well. So, yeah, I mean, you run into the Kiwis everywhere, and they're bloody good at sailing too.
Yeah.
Word has it, Joel, that they are actually the ones behind the whole changeover from the Mylar main to the black main, just to feel at home. Just looks way better with the silver fern on it.
Yeah. Not good with colour, the Kiwis. That freaks them out. What about I was just completely lost it. There was something I was going to go down the path with. Completely lost it. Doesn't matter. Bice, you, mate. I've just completely blanked.
Rightio. Joel, paint the picture for us. I've said this several times to several guests, but
I know what it was.
Next week the weather's looking good. How many boats are on the start line? What's the aspirations leading into this one, obviously?
We've got a slightly smaller fleet than the Europeans and Kiwi, just because we're in Canada. I mean, we're a long way from anything. So a lot of the younger teams who don't have big budgets haven't turned up. So we've only got 65 odd boats as opposed to 95. So we think it's going to be split into two fleets. So two fleets of 32 or so. The weather looks very good for at least the first couple of days. I'll never look further ahead than 4 or 5 days.
I will.
Looking at moderate wind strength, good sun. And for Tom and myself, like I was kind of touching on earlier, we just want to try and be inside that top 10 on a consistent basis from now on. I always believe before you progress your goals too far too quickly, you want to make sure that you can be consistent at a certain level before you try to get too far ahead of yourself. So if we can be in top 10 this week, then we'll be happy, guys.
And where's that then lead to for the selection process for France? And how's that looking? Do you know yet?
So that won't really start until next year. To get the Olympic spot happens at the World Championships next year in the Netherlands. Yep. So still a fair bit of time until all that happens. And because of COVID and the last Olympics being pushed back a year, everything else gets pushed back a little bit as well.
Right. Where in the Netherlands is that event?
At The Hague.
If you see half an eyebrow on that roundabout, I might have come off my treadly.
Yes. No.
Cool. Well. So you've been in Europe. How do you fund the program, Joel? You and Tom?
We've got a couple of supporters from back at home that we're super lucky to have. We also do a fair bit of work during our time off at home as well. So we're very busy because any time that we're not training, we're working, and then all of that money goes straight back into the campaign. Obviously, the Australian sailing team looks after us relatively well as well.
Yeah.
So without them, we wouldn't be here doing it. Without our supporters, we probably wouldn't be able to afford it. So, and then we just got to top it up ourselves a little bit more as well.
You're not getting rich. You're not getting rich.
Not easy.
No. I mean, let's be honest. The goal is to get the gold at the Olympics so you can get that gold Commodore, mate, and be set for life.
Unfortunately, now it's not a big Wampin V8 Statesman. It's a little 2-litre diesel Vauxhall.
Before we dive deep into the worlds, what's your favourite regatta that you've done? Like location to go and do all that sort of stuff?
Oh, probably my favourite would be we did a 49er Europeans in 2015, I think it was 2016 in Barcelona. So where the next America's Cup is going to be, I just love Barcelona as a city. Good food, good people, good sailing. And it's funny because I had an absolute shocker that week as well. It was one of the worst results I ever had in the 49er, but still really, really love the place. It's just an unreal place to go sailing.
I love it. I'm always interested, because you'll have a ball at The Hague, but it could get cold. But that's about the only thing. But I'm guessing this event could be a cracker. This one in Nova Scotia where you are right now, like Canada. Canada is a great place to sail, obviously, and the conditions do look unreal for the regatta. One of the things that's interesting, so you're in St Margaret's Bay. So for the listeners, they're right over on the east coast of Canada, like pretty much as far east as you can go. And I was just doing the whole weather analysis to see what was going on, and it was just around the corner. I thought you guys were going to suffer, but it looks like you're in sort of a dead zone. But it's like the world's biggest tides or something, literally just around the corner from where you are. You still there?
Sorry,
you dropped out.
You got me, guys?
Yeah, got you, bud.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, all I was saying is that
to be honest, Geordie, couldn't tell you what the tide.
He's moving. You still got you, bud?
Sorry, you got me?
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. I to be honest, I couldn't tell you anything about the tide other than what's happening on our racecourse area.
Right.
It's a pretty narrow focus when we turn up to an event like this, where we're trying to figure out what's going on our race courses, which is 4 or 5 race course options here in Halifax, and that's the focus, and we don't really look at too much else. That's why when people say, "Oh, you got to see Halifax," nah. Didn't get to see Halifax. We got to see the yacht club and the bay a lot, but not too much other than that.
Yeah, like every good sailor, it's the partners of sailors that get to see everything. That's the truth of it. But once you go outside the bay and then down just around that sort of the tip at the south there, like it just looks to be insane, the tides, and then back up the inlet just slightly to the west of you. So it looks like they've got some major tides. But where you are it looks pretty benign in all honesty. So I thought, this could be interesting, but just looks good conditions. Now, you're a Gold Coast boy. The water temperature's not going to worry you? Canadian water,
No, it's actually bloody nice at the moment. It's warmer now here than it is at home. I'm loving it.
Wow.
We're sweating. We're sweating most days on the water, so we're happy days.
Right. Now with the entries, so you got 6 Aussie teams competing. So we mentioned Jim and Sean before. So Jim Coley and Sean O'Connor, who did well at the Euros, pipped you guys. But what about the rest of the team? Is it a tight team, or is everyone individually funded, or is it a squad that's come over?
So yeah, we've got the Australian squad here, which is 4 49ers. We've got ourselves, Jim and Sean, Tom Burton and Simon Hoffman, and Jack Ferguson and Max Paul, who are the younger guys in the squad, but have been showing some really good performances recently as well.
Yeah.
The cool thing we've got going with our squad is we've got a large amount of diversity, and by that I mean in terms of sailing skills. So we've got Tom Burton, who's got an Olympic gold medal from laser sailing. So he's got great experience and work ethic and has been very valuable to our squad. And then we've got young guys who always just bring new attitude and different kind of thinking. And then basically we have every boat in the squad has a different strength, like across the wind range, which has been super useful. And that's really important, and our job to take advantage of that and use each other.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Jordan's quite passionate about this whole sharing culture that he sees, especially in the US and across the 505s. Is that how the squad works from your experience as well?
Yeah, very much so. It's super important that we all get along really well, which we do. I mean, I'm living in a house right now with Jim Colley, one of our competitors and squad mates. We share absolutely everything that we learn about the 49er and about the race course and about how to make them go fast, because if we can figure out as a country how to do it well, then at least someone might get the opportunity to go and get a medal at the Olympics. Whereas if we all do our own thing, then you're in a much smaller chance of being successful against the fleet, because there's just so much time and money that goes into this sport. You can't waste it and try and figure it out as a 1 or 2 man squad.
Do you put it this? Well, if you don't get to go, do you have a favourite who you want to go? Promise they won't. Are you going to tell you?
Are you going to tell your kids who's the favourite?
Or no, I do all the time actually. No.
I love it.
Nah, no comment.
Well dodged, mate. Well dodged. That was well played. I like that. All right. Well, let's focus off into the other teams offshore. So, looking at if you guys don't win it, so obviously the names there look it's Boughton and Trittle, I guess. So the Spanish Spanish combination. Barton and Flores, the Dutch combination. Be the Croatians, I guess, is another team that just pops to mind for me. The Fantella boys. Who else should we be thinking of? I guess Fisher and Graf.
Yeah, probably the British team, James
course.
Peters and Finn Sterrett.
Yeah.
And then you've got probably 2 or 3 Kiwi teams as well that are capable of being on the podium or on the top. So definitely a widespread group that can all win at a major event.
So with the way it's going to work, I mean, are the breezes like a gradient, or is it a thermal breeze? Like, is it a speed race or is it a tactical course?
We're probably going to get a lot of both, to be honest. We've had a lot of thermal breezes since we've been here, which are traditionally very stable and make it a speed race.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's probably one of the most shifty thermal breezes that we've seen around the world. There's still plenty on offer around the racecourse. It's just the old classic thing. You're going to have to be good at everything. You're going to have good boat speed. We're going to have to be going the right way based on the wind shifts at the time, and trying to keep the fleet where we want them.
Yeah. So that's one of the things you talk about when you are racing. You know, it's fleet management, and that ability to sail for yourself, but also manage the fleet. I think that's the hardest skill set to develop. How do you feel coming in, mate? Are you going to win?
Why not?
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, at least as an Aussie squad, we're feeling really confident. Like I said, we got a strong boat in every condition, and so every day that we go sailing at the moment, Tom and myself are improving, and the squad as a whole is improving. So, like I was saying earlier, day by day, if we improve every day, then we're always feeling good. And I wouldn't put a podium out of the question for any of the Aussies at the moment. Everyone has moments where we're performing really well, and it's just going to be a matter of whether we can keep it turned on for the whole week. It's a 6-day event, so quite a long slog. When you're doing 3 or 4 races every day for 6 days, it's quite a task to get through and still be performing at the top of our game by the end.
Yeah.
So we'll see who's able to do that next week.
So it'll be a bunch of fleet races, then it'll split into gold and silver fleets, and then you get a final, the medal race, basically. So it's that whole program just crammed into a really tight space. With that sort of sailing, you know, where there's a lot of races on a day, if something goes wrong, like you break something on the boat, you know, do you worry about that sort of stuff? Because that's just a nightmare. If something breaks on a boat, that's a whole day wasted, basically. Or if the coach has got a full setup out there.
We carry quite a lot of spares on the coach boat, so we've got almost every single rope that's on the boat. We've got a few sails on board and spare parts and blocks and fittings and this sort of stuff. But to be honest, a lot of the effort in regards to equipment breakages goes into prevention. A lot of time and money that we spend goes into prevention of equipment breakages, because, like you said, as soon as something breaks, you're most likely out for the race. And if it's a 3-race day and it's the first race, you're out for 3 races. So it's you want to be on top of how well you can solve the problem once it happens, but even better if you can completely prevent it. So there's a lot of checking and management in terms of that.
Yeah,
what's the go with the split fleets, Joel? Are you got the same you're racing against on a daily basis, or they split them every day?
Yeah, it'll randomize every day. So
yeah,
at the start of the regatta, it's usually based on world ranking.
Okay.
Is how they divide it up to start with, and then each day after that, it's like 1st and 4th and 7th and 10th will all be in the same fleet, and so forth. So so that you're racing a fair fleet every day.
How many drops?
Just 1.
Wow.
Yeah. So our Europeans, I think, was I think we got 14 or 15 races and just 1 drop, and then your medal race is counted
as double,
no matter what.
Yeah. Yowzers, indeed.
Got to be on the game there.
Yeah. It is quite incredible. Like I'm just thinking back on that equipment thing. Like when I was at the 5-0s, there's this huge argument. Like the 5-0s, you've got to sail a long way from land. It's got to be a certain number of miles offshore so you don't get any wind influence and rah. And I'm going, that's just the crappiest rule. 1, no one gets to watch the racing. 2, if somebody breaks something, that's their whole regatta done. So you're forcing them to have a coach boat out there with spares and everything. Yeah. If I was running the show, it'd be within 10 metres of a dock, you know, like everything. So everyone gets to go and fix things if something breaks, you know, and it doesn't require the coach boat. But obviously fair winds, all that stuff. But then we do the medal race right next to the spectators as well. So, you know, I'm just intrigued by that whole process. But 1 drop... Yeah, go and check your boat. Do you want us to come and check it out? Bicey's the man.
I'll bring my shackle key.
Yeah, that's all you need. Yeah, I mean, in terms of your point, in terms of being offshore and fair racing and stuff like that, the 49er class went through quite a lot of that in terms of our type of racing, our style of racing, because we experimented with 2 top marks. We experimented with theatre style racing for a final series, which is just a super small course, and we experimented with like a winner takes all final and these sorts of things to put more emphasis on that final race. And the interesting thing was, after all the trials, the same people still won.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like the best sailors over the 6-day period are the best sailors over the 6-day period, no matter what kind of conditions we get. And that's why having a good level amongst a wide variety of conditions is so important. You don't just want to be a specialist in something and have a weakness in another area, because over a 6-day period, you're going to get a bit of everything. So you need to be able to tackle it all.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Mate, what's the best moment you've had on a boat? And let's keep the sexual elements out of it, all right? Just
wouldn't have had any of that, Jordan. been too busy sailing. To be honest, probably in recent times, one of the best was I just did the Brisbane to Hamilton Island yacht race on the Stefan with Warrow, and that was my first kind of proper ocean race, which was just a cool experience for me. And driving the boat in 16 knots of breeze at 110 true, triple headed was pretty awesome fun on a boat like that. I guess it's a bit of a smaller version of Comanche, very beamy and cannon keel and just super powered up and awesome fun to drive when you got a good amount of breeze. That was a highlight in recent times, and who knows, maybe we'll have some big highlights next week during the World Championships.
Well, here's an idea. Triple heading the 49er, mate.
Just throw the GS on, you reckon? I'm guessing from that comment, Joel, do you have aspirations to a offshore career post 49ers? You've got several years left, of course, but is that where you want to end up?
Yeah, I don't really have a set thing in mind either way. I just love the sport. Whether it's match racing, which I got to do a bit of in the past in the M32 Cats on the circuit, or doing Hamilton Island Race Week with a bunch of mates, or going offshore with a pro team, any of it entices me. I just love the sport and love being challenged and trying to learn and improve myself, as well as just enjoying the moments that you're out there on the water. It's all really good fun, and I can see myself spending time doing any of it. I've been lucky enough, the work I'm doing back at home is with Evolution Sails, the sail makers. So I'm spending a bit of time on the loft floor building sails, as well as dealing with customers, fitting sails on their boats and that sort of stuff. So all of it I find really good fun, and I could do any type of sailing as long as I get to be on the water.
Nicely done on getting Evolution in there for the plug. That's well done. What you forgot to add, though, just as from a management perspective, as a manager sort of advice, Sail GP America's Cup, just in case any of the teams are listening.
I mean, the America's Cup and Sail GP are just epic events and epic boats with full professional teams and a lot of money involved as well. It's obviously the pinnacle of our sport. I personally can honestly say that it's not my end goal. I kind of don't see myself doing that type of sailing as a long-term career.
Okay.
The sport of sailing is so enjoyable, and where I'm at with life on the Gold Coast and a bit of work here and there, and just being able to go sailing is what I enjoy. So I don't have massive aspirations in that regard. And if I can achieve my Olympic goals, then I'll be a happy bloke.
A nice down to earth answer. I like that one.
A gold statesman, mate. That's all we want.
Imagine all the offshore people going, "What's a Commodore? What's a statesman?" You know, I love it.
Yeah, you need to have a Range Rover.
Are you saying me?
We won't go there.
Yeah. That was opening up a whole bunch of debate there. All right, mate. Well, we might let you go to dinner because we know you got to put the weight on because, it's going to be wind on and you're wasting away as we see you there. But
it's a big spag bog for dinner tonight.
Love it. Well, we'll be watching with interest. I guess we really wanted to do this so we could focus people in on, what is one of the major events going on. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat to us, and we're mates. So I'm obviously in your camp. Do the best you can, mate, and bring home some gold if you can.
Yeah, we'll do our best. We've got a long 6 days ahead of us, and we'll put in the hard yards just for you, Geordie. And appreciate getting to have a chat to you guys, and love what you're doing for the sport.
Oh.
Keep putting sailing out there and getting some more people involved.
Good man.
Cheers, Joel. We haven't talked about the Barkarati curse or the anti-curse,
good point.
So let's hope this rolls over quite nicely for you, mate.
You're onto that one, Joel? Do you know that?
Nah, what's this about?
Everyone
what are you stitching me up with?
No, it's no stitch up. It's just I'm worried if we're allowed to say it out loud, we'll ruin it.
No, don't mention it. We'll just mention it after.
We'll tell you
you're on the top of the podium.
I'll wait.
Yeah. Put it this way, it's not a bad thing.
It's all good. It's nothing but good. All right, mate.
All right, I'll wait.
What a well-rounded young gentleman. Hey?
He is. There's no doubt.
And at the pinnacle of his sport now for 10 years, let's say, with that long desire to get the top of the podium. So be maintaining that intensity for that longer time.
Yep.
Be interested to explore a bit more on that at some point.
The other thing that came across for me was how considered he was on a lot of the thoughts he had. Like, when I made
when we tried catching him out on a few things.
Yeah, the banter, and he just, this and that, So he's obviously well thought of it, I think him and Tom, it's his third pairing, so they're going pretty well.
Yep.
There's a good battle going on at the top of the Aussie team at the moment, so we'll see how it plays out. But I guess we wanted to do that one to for everyone, for the listeners to sort of be able to get to know Joel in case they hadn't heard of him or hadn't met him. But then also we can focus in and let people be aware of the 49ers because it is one of the major events.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Those worlds. So it's
one
cool.
I found, and even watching the 49ers now, and something Joel said, they are way ahead of their time.
Yeah.
For what they were, and they still are.
Yeah.
They're making advancements with a few different things as well, which is cool.
Well, who we never thought to get onto the show is Julian Bethwaite. He's a good chat. I used to know him pretty well, and he's.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When we first started the show and thought, there'd only be several amount of episodes that we could do. Yes. And they just keep coming out the woodwork, everyone. And then you think of that person, then that person. And literally last night I was standing in a circle, and this is a bit of names dropping.
Yeah.
We got Ian Murray.
Yep.
John Winnie.
Yep.
Joey Newton.
Yep.
They've all been on the show.
Of course.
And and the chat was, how do we beat Will? On his Will Oxley, because Will's got more listens than the rest of them.
I love it. Oh, dear. Well, they're welcome to come on and try anytime. Bit of controversy.
Give me some good ideas for some good guests coming up who are literally in our own backyard. Yeah, cool.
I reckon Ian Murray could come on and just have he could say a few things about a few things and really start the controversy, but I think he's a bit more professional than that.
So. Well, I think he's very well considered. Let's say that.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And he cares too. That's the other thing about Ian. Like he he genuinely cares about people and everyone. You know, like if you look over his history, he's been very loyal to people over his whole sailing career, and so, you know,
yep. So hopefully he remains loyal to bark riding.
Yeah,
what we're getting at.
All right.
Cool.
Other news? Should we dive into other news?
Well, I will save the Hammo stuff.
Yeah.
We'll save that. But
hot topics.
Normally, Jack Lloyd, listener of the week.
I want to go
club events.
I want to because one thing that is coming up, and it's 12 days away, 7 hours, 10 minutes, 38 seconds, is Bart's Bash.
Yes.
So it's a global event, sailing communities across the world, fundraising event for Andrew Bart Simpson, MBE. Obviously, we all knew and passed away, unfortunately. So, you know, Bart's Bash is like a blown-up version of what we stand for. You know, they raise money, try and get more people into our sport, you know. And so September 10 and 11 is the dates. So if you're thinking about, if you don't know about Bart's Bash, just type the words
just
Bart's
Google
Bash.
it in there.
Yep.
You'll see what it's all about and how your club can be involved.
Yep.
It is a big deal, and there's it's close to a lot of people's heart. So yeah, check it out.
Yep. The other one I thought I'd mention this week, just from club events, is being in Queensland. Next weekend's I think it's Father's Day in the Southern Hemisphere, but it's also opening for a lot of clubs in Queensland. It's the September 4 is the opening day for a whole bunch of clubs. Go. We don't worry about that Aussie Rule final or that Rugby League final. We just go for it.
Get on with it.
Yeah, because it's you know,
before the monsoons come in.
That's it. I want to finish the season before the cyclones hit. So you know, from club events, it's starting to wind up here, mate. So I'm away all week for work, but I'll probably flash down to a club or two on the Sunday just to see what's going on. So
don the whites to make you feel kind of, you know, part of the scene.
I'm the opposite, mate. I wear the blacks, don't I?
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't expect anything less.
All right. Our good mate Jack Lloyd, listener of the week. Actually, I should just mention sorry. Go on.
Club events, just one a bit.
That
we'll do a bit more discussion about it closer to the time. But for any listeners, specifically, well, could be anywhere in Australia, the SA Women's Keelboat Regatta coming up.
Yep. 1st
to 3rd of October.
Yep.
Run out of the Cruising Yacht Club of South Australia. They're quite the event. It's first year.
Yep.
Of something that's going to be, you know, on the calendar for years to come. Contact the club if you do want to come over with a team, because there could be a couple of boats available.
I'm going to say, boys, because you guys are running it, women's regattas are unreal. Like, they are unreal. As you know, like, you've done a lot with the women's sport, but, you know, they're just so happy all the time, you know? Like, it's good. It's a good event to be around. So good luck to everyone that enters, and best get involved. It'll be on the 7s.
Involved. There's a few Elliots left over.
Yeah, okay.
That could be leased. So
perfect.
Have a crack.
Now, Jack Lloyd,
Lloyd,
listener of the week. Obviously, Jack was a great man who we loved very much and passed away. Just a quick one to Murray, Doug, and my good mate Phil McGain. Their mum just passed today. The matriarch of their family, so very well-known Australian sailing family, very, very well-known, multiple world champions right through that. So deepest sympathies to the McGains. I know it'll be a tough day, but we're thinking of you lads. So, yeah, just thought I'd get that one out there. We did have some good listeners come in, though. Speaking of equality, Bice, Mike Wood.
Yes.
Mike Wood.
Woodsy.
Yeah, Woodsy. Yep. Anyone who's mates with Woodsy, make sure you get his wife to listen to the letter he sent to us. Because if he's going to go down, he might as well go down in flames. Here we go. I'll read it. He said a while ago you had a listener email that you did not have any women as guest presenters and that sailing was not equal sport for both men and women. And it was great you guys addressed that first part of her email by adding a women's presence while Mr. Perry was having some time off. And we will do some more. It's just been hard to grab them. So, But since you've done this now, you can fix the equality problem. In my opinion, equality in sailing will never go away while after a day sailing or volunteering at our club, my wife will search the whole rigging lawn and then search the whole club to find me so I can go to the bar and get the drinks. If equality is really the outcome wanted, then how do I get my wife to go to the bar by herself and then search the whole club and bring me a drink? That would bring equality into sailing. Keep up the good work. Love the show. Jeez.
Well, Woodsy, it's been nice knowing you, mate.
He put the gun to his head and pulled the trigger all by himself.
Yep. So, well, that's one way to put it, Mike. Joint bank account will probably fix things, though.
Yeah. Another one we got was from David Williamson, which I loved because I'm guilty of this one more than anyone. Is there's we're bar karate. There's a whole movement out there called bra karate, as in
so come back,
as in women's bras. So
yeah.
So the whole bra karate thing is when David sent me something on Instagram. Basically, it was a there he is. Whenever my wife comes out without a bra on, basically. And it's a little funny video where this lass walks down the stairs and her husband spies her without the bra, and then he goes for the grope and she's blocking him, like throwing the bra.
The bra.
So that looks like there's this whole movement, which is a great description for it. So, So bra karate, not to be confused with bar karate, although they could occur at the same time.
And we had a few other listeners come through this week. Yes, our good friend Denise Del Mundo,
lovely one.
She came through on that bit of the spill we spoke about a few episodes ago.
Yep,
several episodes ago. And then also Philip, who wrote in.
Phil Glaser. I wonder if he's any relation to Jay.
I think we can probably take this topic. We don't need to mention it now, but we'll take it to a much bigger discussion. But essentially, it's based around what if Olympics didn't exist in our sport?
Yeah, well...
which is a whole nother discussion in itself.
Okay, so shall we bring it back in? Is that what you're saying? Because it's a really good question.
Yeah, it's a solid discustion. Because we could have a bit of a panel and almost have a debate.
Okay.
All that debating team practice I had back in high school, my college days might come in handy.
Well, we actually kind of asked that question of Joel in a way without even thinking about this. So, yeah. It's a good one. So, Phil Glaser, if you're listening, mate, we love that question. And Bill Bicey, as you said, we might throw a little panel together and do that one. That could be a good club one. Actually, if we did a live club show, that could be the question we do at a live club show.
You're right.
That would be, because there has been a lot of requests for us to appear at clubs and do live shows, and we're working out how to pull that together. So
yeah. And lastly, I've just got one. Bill Goggins has come in again.
Yes.
So he's going for quantity here for sure. But given
Harkin sales have skyrocketed.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I haven't seen the money yet. But just Bill, if you're listening, I've given your merch pack to Callum up in Hammo. Fair chance you won't see it.
It may or may not turn up, as all
may or may not be there. COVID, bloody COVID.
Yeah, let's just be honest. There's no merch packs. We don't have the money.
No. Oh, no.
Okay.
We can't afford to give them away.
Cool. Right. All right. So all good? All happy?
All good. Very.
Okay, cool.
It's hot time with Bice.
Harry Fisher.
Harry Fisher.
You beauty.
Yeah.
Rightio. Hot time with Bites. Well, I must admit, I'm not completely up to date with everything going on in the world of yachting about now, apart from Hammo Race Week, of which was relentless, my friend. I've got to say. Southeast trades every day. Every day. I don't think there would have been many teams by the end of the regatta who would have said, I wish this went for a few days longer. But what a place to sail.
Yeah.
And with those consistent trades that were coming through and all the different courses that are out there. Yep. And I spoke about it a bit last week, but it's kind of the navigators, strategists, tacticians, either a nightmare or dream, depending on where you end up.
Yeah.
But yeah, and boats going in all different directions on all different courses, all coming to the finish at different times, going different ways. It was pretty spectacular.
Very cool.
Let's say that. With the odd whale just popping up, as we mentioned last week.
Yeah.
You do have a story. We will not be mentioning that.
No.
But no, that was a bloody good regatta, long regatta. And just, I mean, without going through all the results, and I thought actually last night at the prize giving, they just, some yacht clubs you sit in sometimes or presentations, and it just goes on and on and on and on. I mean, 220 odd boats and a lot of classes, but it went through quite swiftly. Then the band, which is possibly one of the best bands I've ever seen in that sort of setting, came on. Got a few people out there bopping and got a lot of people talking. No one could hear each other, so a lot of nodding was getting done. But basically, results-wise, is the top of the manual rating Division 0, which is all the bigger boats, call it 60 plus, was Alive, Whisper, No Limit. They were the podium. And in that class also, we had the Wild Oats and the Endo Comanche, of course, with the Wild Oats taking them on IRC. Good chat, though, about the showdown of which is going to take place leading into Hobart and, of course, for Hobart.
Yeah.
So between the Oats and the Endo Comanche, they probably had half the tables there last night.
Right.
So a few of the teams couldn't be there.
Yeah.
Rating Division 1, which myself, now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, Jordan Spencer. We talk about the Barcarati curse, and anyone that comes on goes well in a regatta.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been coming on this show for 180 odd episodes, and we didn't win a thing.
You're not a guest. That's the problem. It's not for us. It's for the guests, mate. We sacrifice it for the guests.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you're welcome, Caro. No problem. No, Caro, fully optimised, new 52 on the water, only a year or so.
Yeah.
Took out the win in front of probably one of the best sailed boats on the racetrack this week, Matador.
Yep.
Ichiban in third, Segments in fourth.
Yep.
So that was where that ended up. Remembering this is the Australian Yachting Championships.
Yep.
And then, I mean, I won't go through them all, but just recognise that everyone who competed in all the different divisions did a bloody good job.
I'll pull out
a good time.
a few highlights. So obviously into Div 2, Bruce McCracken on Icon had a win there. But the interesting thing, you mentioned the band. There's a boat there in Div 2 called Eagle Rock, owned by Ross Wilson. And Ross Wilson is probably one of the Australia's iconic musicians from the 60s, and he's been around, and his most famous song is Eagle Rock. So I can't imagine any band, if they'd known Ross was in the audience, would have been a little bit nervous. But
well, you know what normally happens when that song gets played?
What's that?
Everyone drops their DAC.
Yeah.
So you should have seen when they came up on stage.
Of course, in Div 3, the Beck family, I think they provided half the fleet in Div 3. But Peter Chappell came second in the Cadillac.
Yes,
so
the Cadillac.
Ray Roberts won in his team Hollywood, but the Cadillac, which for those who don't know who Peter Chappell is an iconic, legendary sailor from the West. And that's a sort of self-designed boat, I think. That
she looks pretty groovy. Let me tell you that. The Cadillac.
Yeah.
And as spoken about, Chapo's one of those guys who could probably put the whole best off the beach class debate to bed. Maybe we should get him and Robbie Doosan on at the same time.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting discussion.
To discuss the pros and cons of the Australian lightweight Sharpie v the 505.
Well, they've sold them both.
Well, and do you know what else they've sold?
Etchels.
Rainbows.
Rainbow.
So it's a fair chance the rainbow will come out in front. So
everything.
It'll still be the second best.
Hey, in the multi-hull division, I just thought I'd give you a heads up, mate, because in the white division, 2 South Australian trimarans, I think they Carbon Credit and Crosshair.
And Carbon Credit, who first and second.
Yeah, and I think Carbon Credit's up for sale, I reckon. So if you want a quick boat.
They turned it into a bit of a pilgrimage, let's say that, on getting the boats up there, took their time.
Yeah.
Not sure. So it's going to be a good 4-6 week turnaround. They also did Airlie Beach.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's like the trip of a lifetime right there.
Yeah, good one. And I think, I'm just trying to remember them. I saw Rowan Veal team won.
Yeah, they won with the day to spare over the Rex, the Orma 60. Yep. Which I've got to say, you see one of those things going past.
Yeah.
You spoke about the Sail GP team going past you, and which is just blows you away.
Yeah.
I've got but this thing is massive.
60. Yeah.
Just smoking through. It's pretty cool.
Very cool.
So, yep.
Cool. All right. Well done to everyone at Hammo. Jealous that I wasn't there. Glad everyone had a great time. I love Airlie Beach just as much, that regatta. So it's good times. So, yeah, congratulations, mate, on surviving, because that is probably the biggest challenge.
And it's Sunday Arvo. I'm sitting in Melbourne in the Qantas Club doing this on my way home. A little tired, a little emotional.
Yeah.
Just need a hug. But, everything's going to be all right.
Everything's going to be all right. Beauty. One of the letters we did get, seeing you've been missed out on a whole bunch of news, was from Dominic Keem, he's sent us a few letters over the time, and he was pointed out that the Snipe Worlds were on last week. Now, I was just going, and they're in Cascais in Portugal, which is obviously something we love.
Best chicken shop in the world.
Dom Manolo. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know what a snipe is. I've never really connected to a snipe. And so I went, and I've been looking at the results. So congratulations to Alfredo Gonzalez and Christian Sanchez from Espanyol. So
let me guess, Spanish.
Yep. Then Alexandre Pradea and Gabriel Keling dos Santos from Brazil. Then the USA team of Ernesto Rodriguez and Kathleen Tok. And then the Brazil team of Enrique Haddad and Gustavo Nascimento.
Mate, this is like your dream commentating on this.
Are you picking up a theme here? It's
Absolutely.
It's like the Spanish language boat.
Yeah, exactly. And so they don't even say starboard. They say it in Spanish.
I wonder if that's the language of the class. But anyway, they had I think there was some. I mean, there's a Belgian team there. One. There's Peruvian. There's Spanish. There's Brazilian. There's USA. But again, the USA.
Did they have the Spanish firefighting team there? Jose and Jose B.
That's an old joke.
Yeah, 180 episodes took me to get that one out.
Jose and Jose B, hey? Anyway, but yeah, so it looks like they had plenty of wind. They're kind of like a two-hander, I don't know, probably 16 to 18 foot long thing, and there's a huge fleet, looks pretty serious. So cool. Congratulations. And I thought we'd just mention that. The other one that I want to mention that these boats made me think of is the Flying 15 75th anniversary event they just had.
Their
75th anniversary. So the Ufa Fox design thing, it happened as part of the European Champs. So it was at Cowes Corinthian Yacht Club. And they just had a little one-day race, so 40 Flying 15s from a bunch of different countries. I quite like the Flying 15s. I've always had a soft spot for them. They're kind of an old man's dinghy, I think, is the best way to describe it without being offensive to the competitors. Like you get to plane, upwind and down, they're tunable rigs. they're a cool boat. They're a cool boat.
Yeah.
And Terry Shooter won it. And with Chris Hukin, and for those who love 5.0s like I do, old Tez, we've seen him around in that class, the 5.0 class, quite a bit. So,
yeah, right. Yep.
Yeah, but just 75th anniversary for the Flying 15s. Happy birthday, Flying 15s. I just wanted to say that is
another one that falls in our realms.
Yeah.
Classics. Yeah.
Don't worry, mate.
A few Land Rovers would have been used to tow them around back in the day.
I just, yes. The Worlds are on in Freo coming up.
There we go.
There you go. So the J-Dog has spent a lot of time looking at the second-hand market today because I'm getting sick of not going sailing at the moment. All right, and the Fireballs.
Yes.
Fireballs
currently underway.
I think they just might have finished in Loch Derg Yacht Club in Ireland. We know we love Ireland.
Sure.
Inland. So near Tipperary. Irish nationals in the World Champs. So they just finished 26th of August. So just jumped onto the rots. Interesting thing, no US teams, which
have generally been strong in their day, for sure.
Yeah. So congratulations, Thomas Gillard and Shandy Thompson, my favourite name, Shandy Thompson.
Oh, yeah. That's a great name.
The British team, yep. Claude Memond and Rudy Mossa from Switzerland in second, and then Heather McFarlane and Chris Payne. So for those, we've mentioned Heather on the show a few times.
Yep.
She's a bit of a superstar, that young lass. Finishing in the third spot, and the first Irishman team was in fourth. So in the old Fireball, legendary boat.
Yes.
Cool. Right. Now we've got to talk about a couple of things. Solitaire Du Figaro is on.
Yep.
So that's in the Beneteau Figaro boat, the third edition, and it's 3 legs. Is that your plane being called?
Yeah, I'll need to be departing shortly.
Okay.
So that's all right.
We'll wind up pretty quick. But anyway, so that's on just for those jumping in. It's 3 legs, so bloody from Loire Atlantique, Nantes to Port La Forêt, and they're on the way to Royan at the moment. So we've already got 1 leg in, and then back to Loire Atlantique, so Saint Nazaire. All right, anyway, so they're basically racing around the Bay of Biscay. And
yes,
it's
the Bay of Certain Death, some do call it.
Yes.
Let's hope that's not the case.
Yeah. So zooming around, single-handed sailing. It's very close, one design racing. It's super tight. It's good to be involved in. And then we go on to what I don't know how to describe it. Go on.
With the Golden Globe race.
That's it,
my friend.
That's what we're about to talk about.
Basically in a race single-handed around the world.
Yep.
Replicating the original solo around the world race, which was entitled at the time. Sir Robin Knox Johnson won it.
Was it the Sunday Times event or something?
Nah, I can't. Jesus, I'll remember it as soon as I get off this.
Yep.
But basically, they depart on September the 4th, which is literally a week away.
Yep.
And a few of the, during a bit of scrutineering, a few of the teams may unlikely make it, of which a couple of them failed their use of a sextant.
Yes.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, well.
Hot tip for you guys.
Yeah.
Fair chance you'll be needing it because you don't have anything else on board. So it's a pretty good idea to get that up there. There's one little... a few qualifying things that haven't been completed. There's one medical issue going on. So normal high tension stuff just coming into the last week before the grand depart.
So for those who don't know, the boats, as Bossy said, it's non-stop around the world, literally starting on the 4th. The boats must be production boats. They've got to be between 32 and 36 foot in overall length, so 9.75 to 10.97 metres. They have to be designed prior to 1988, and they must have a full-length keel with the rudder attached to the trailing edge of that keel. So, yeah, you need your sextant because you're not allowed any of the modern gear on board as well. So,
correct.
I really, it's... Well, I wouldn't do it. There's no way I'd do this. I've got zero interest in it.
No, yeah, absolutely. I'm not whipping down to buy an S&S 34 specifically for it, put it that way. But for those doing it though, hats off.
Yeah.
Hats off.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
We'll be keeping an eye on it. Possibly by the time it finishes, we're at episode 180 now. We should be around about episode 280. I would imagine.
Yeah. A couple of years down the track. Oh, yeah.
No, we'll keep an eye on it.
How many entrants are there? There's like, what are there? There's 30-something, I think. There's
yeah, it's quite significant.
23 sailors, 30,000 miles non-stop, alone, no outsiders.
23, yeah. Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Wow. And how are we going to follow it?
Well, I'm guessing there's trackers. For external, there's a live tracker on the website, Golden Globe Race website, or Yellow Brick.
Okay,
you can do it. Yeah.
So the trackers are on. I thought we might have to all go out and buy medium wave radios or something and just
try and listen in.
Yeah.
Maybe we get Dom back on again at some point.
Yeah.
When it's all going down. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it.
Cool.
Isn't it? Anything else?
I'm about to board my plane back to Adelaide and better go buy the kids a little present before I leave. Okay. I'm sure they'll enjoy a Mars bar that I've got in Hamilton Island.
Well, I'll be in the airport tomorrow, so I'm going overseas again, off to Tasmania for the week.
Yep. Best of luck down there. Hopefully you don't offend too many people.
I think I might be taken for a tour of the little cadet team base. I've got a suspicion it's going to happen to me whilst I'm down there. But so best of luck to those guys with their build up to the Worlds. But yeah, off to sunny Tasmania. So I'll probably be dead because of the cold.
Enjoy the Apple Isle, my friend.
Oh, no worries. And then, back to it next week. So good work. Thanks for listening, everyone. Let's see what BP's up to.
He's got a shot glass on his finger, running it up and down the neck of the guitar. Yes, there he is.